Greetings, good people. My name is Simon Okelo with One Vibe Africa. I'm the founder and executive director, and I'm super excited to present to you another episode of Diaspora Connect. We're doing this straight from Cafe Avole, and I'm really privileged to be sitting with the owner of this beautiful space. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Again, my name is Dubie, as everyone knows, and I'm the owner of Cafe Avole, which is an amazing space down here on Rainier Valley.
Yeah.
Something that hasn't been seen in a very long time. We're very excited to have everyone here tonight. To be working with Simon again, my brother. We've been working with each other for a very long time, and as he mentioned prior to starting, it's been a privilege to get to this point. So I'm thankful.
Yeah, man, sitting with you is like accountability. It's like a sense of accountability, not only to myself but to you and to the community, because when you work with each other, you have to check each other. You have to see that what have we done together, and how long have we been doing it. What can we learn from it? What can other people learn from it? So sitting here after, we've done so much together since 2015, but this one was very intense. We were both afraid to do it, and I remember sitting here with Abigail and the One Vibe board of directors, Njuguna, Wael, and we were debating, majority of people were like, every Friday is too much. and in my mind I was like, if the Chinese have Chinese restaurant operating every day, there's a Thai restaurant operating every day, why can't we have African dinner once a week, every Friday? What's wrong with that?
Simon's way.
And then, so everybody left, and then Solomon and I were left here. And I told him, bro, we have to do it, And he's like, I'm building another space down the street. I don't think I have the time. And then, and then he's like, but I'll try. So now here we are.
Well, see, the thing about Simon is, what you've been able to do is find the value in what it is that we've done, or what we do every day in life, especially something like this, and how valuable it is. And so that moment where him and I were sitting together, and everyone else was franticking and trying to figure out, Friday, oh gosh, I can't do every Friday, I can't commit every Friday. And we were scared, and I remember we spoke for a moment, and he helped me see the bigger picture in what we do. And I walked back inside, and I looked at Gavin and I said, yeah, we're doing it every Friday. Which is great, and I love it, and I love that we were able to do it, and you were able to push me, because that's something that's been important, and something that Simon's been, what you've kind of instilled in my life is to keep pushing, and your dedication, your hard work motivates me to keep going. Thank you for that.
Yeah, me too. There's something that happened after we did the first two Avole nights. We increased the price, and we were afraid. Njuguna is the one who came up with this idea. In fact, he found out that Gavin and I had increased the price to $70, and then he said, why? And then we started breaking it down for him. That day we had gone through a very difficult time. We were doing the Ghanaian dinner, the second dinner, and so the lady was doing the food that night is very good. Her name is the Gold Coast lady, Gold Coast girl, super gifted, and she's very strict too, very professional. So she said, if I don't get paid by 6, I don't make the food, So I left work early and sat with Kenju and Gavin. We were all broke, So I told all these guys that, look, we are broke, but we are paying her by 6. Who can we call? So Gavin is like, I have 35, And Kenju is like, I think I have 40, but maybe 20 is here and 20 is here. Then I said, for me, I don't have anything right now, but we have to pay her. 150 at 6, and it's like 40 minutes, the clock is ticking. So I want to call Solomon, but he's painting his new space, you know, he's building a similar space to this. And then Gavin called his uncle. Gavin says, I have an uncle who can give us $100. Then I say, so 100 plus, you know, the 35 you have plus Kenju's, you know, that's 170. We are above 150 that we needed. So I said, call your uncle. And then Gavin he gave us condition. He said, we pay him by Monday. And then I said, yes, we will pay him by Monday. But at that time, you know, it's Thursday and the dinner is Friday and we only have 2 tickets purchased, you know. And then I say confidently, we'll pay him by Monday, you know. And then the dinner starts, people start showing up, you know. And then I go to Gavin, how much has been paid at the door? He says, oh, you guys have already paid us back, you know. Then I say, great. So the moment I just saw results started showing up, I was like, we have to do this again, you know. And then the feeling, the response that people like David Wavomba, you know, the support people gave us just made me feel like we can't let these people down, you know. And it stopped being a one vibe initiative to help us, you know, get another way of generating revenue for the organization. It became, you know, something that was important to David. We have 2 David? Dennis and David and Juguna. It became something that was ours. And then, you know, I went back to Solomon and I was like, look, now we have to figure out how to make it profitable, because he's a businessman. And then I thought about, you know, his upbringing. At 8 years old, he was... Can you tell us that story?
The story of me roasting coffee?
Yeah.
From my mom. Great transition, because that's what became, you know, the start of my journey, I guess, because you know, unknowingly I was doing something that was going to affect me in the rest of my life, you know, who I'm here today in this space. But as a kid, and I told this story while we had dinner a few times, but as a kid, yeah, I was very curious. I used to watch my mom, and she's an immigrant, and I'd look at her and I'm saying, look at this lady, she's driving a car. She's, I mean, just a number of things that she was doing used to amaze me. And as a kid, I just would watch her. And so one of the things she used to do is roast coffee. She'd do it the traditional Ethiopian way, where she would freshly get green beans and she'd wash them, and she'd take a small little frying pan and she'd be over the stove and she'd be roasting these beans. Got the entire house smelling like smoke. Yeah, to us, it was just something, a ritual that my mom just did every day. And one day, as curious as I was, I woke up and I just thought, oh God, this would be a great way to wake my mom up. She's sleeping. Let me do something that would make me seem as an adult, right? I wanted to be older than I was, and I'm an adult. So I did exactly what she did. I grabbed some green beans. I think I washed it. I hope I did. I put it in the frying pan, but I started roasting the coffee beans, and sure enough, it smokes everywhere, and the alarm starts to ring, and it's, and my mom gets out of bed, and she just jets into the kitchen, and she sees me standing there on the stove, roasting some coffee. And she stops me, and what she did was she started to teach me how to roast coffee. She would show me. She actually would show me how to actually work with the heat, and from there it just went into her teaching me how to do the entire process, which was brewing the coffee. And as much as I liked it and I was excited, there was a point in time where she started utilizing me as her her coffee maker, and would have me make her coffee every Saturdays, and it became a thing. And she would tell her friends, and she'd tell her, you know, she'd be like, yeah, someone's gonna come roast coffee. I'd be outside playing, and she'd, Solomon, come inside, roast me some coffee. You know, come roast some buna. And I started to resent it after a while. But over the years, it wasn't until I got into college where I realized, you know, and I'm exploring different things, and I'm trying to figure out what it was that was going to be my next chapter in my life, and it happened to be coffee, and so I realized that.
So I want you to tell us a little bit about, because entrepreneurship is like a lifetime journey. It's almost it's really like mastering a craft. But a lot of people take it as a business. A lot of people take it as a job. But it's like in Africa we have herbalists. People have studied the plants from the medicinal benefits of different plants that we all just slash and throw away. But it's because of the relationship that they built with these specific plants that it benefits the community now. And that's like Solomon with coffee. And there's a story you mentioned to me some time back, maybe a year ago, about when you're in college and you had you are passionate about coffee and you had a college mate that was passionate about marijuana. Now tell us how you chose your coffee partner.
And I decided not to endure it. And
yeah.
Well, so it was, for me, as funny as it sounds, there were moments in my life that just defined or kind of guided me towards what I'm doing today. And I used to use those moments as reassurance for myself, or ways to build confidence in what I was doing. And to my friends enduring different things, marijuana is one of their business. And as much as that was somewhat easy, the simple way out, I would assume, from coming from our community, it somewhat was, but for me, I would always assure myself and say, you know what, my thing is going to be big, my thing is going to be bigger, and coffee is going to be it, and I can do it. I can enter into this business or this market and do something just as similar as what anyone else is doing. And for me, I was thinking of something that no one was thinking about that moment.
Just coffee.
And I had that backstory behind my relationship with coffee. So tapping into my culture, and that reshaped who I was.
When there's this thing called endurance, and last night Kenju reminded me about that, and myself and you as well. But I challenged Kenju after we watched Barbershop Chronicles that was happening at the Mo Theatre. He was super moved by the play, and he was like, I want to write a review about it, and we can send a blast in the one by email blast to let people know about how great it was. Then I told him I was leaving my house at 5:30 in the morning, so if he sent it at 4, then I would probably post it. By 3 he had already sent it. I was like, shit. So then Solomon, a lot of people don't know that this guy was spending nights here building this place by himself for the most part, and hammering and carrying stuff and spending the night in the kitchen. Just tell us a little bit about that struggle, like how it's really, and now you're doing it again.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sleeping in the. I'm definitely doing it again.
Yeah, I know you're not sleeping. You're building another space. You're building another space, but this space was actually built out of a crowdfunding campaign. A lot of people don't know that that's how Solomon started this place. But then it was a struggle to get there. So just walk us through a little bit about that.
So, yes, I did. There was times where I slept in the kitchen here, but those times were very interesting times, and those were moments in my life where I was learning about myself a lot. I was teaching myself, some of the skills that are required to be an entrepreneur, to be in business, and it was just getting things done. There's no excuse. You can't wait for anybody else to do it for you. You will not find that $1 million bag sitting on the corner. And I would always tell myself, if I want to achieve something, I want to get somewhere, how do I do it and how do I get there?
Yes.
I always believe that that's important to understand. And so my journey started with a grocery store. Prior to that, it was the realization of starting this coffee company and this whole dream of importing and exporting coffee goods and bringing it into the States and sharing it within our community. And I realized that I had to start with a coffee shop. There was a moment where I started to study and I started to analyze the market and the risk assessment. I said, hey, I gotta start. I don't even know. As much as I know about coffee, I guess I don't know it enough. Mm-hmm. And so I had to revisit it and say, I'm going to start with a coffee shop. I think a coffee shop is a great way to understand my market, understand the perspective from a business owner, a perspective of a barista, and a perspective of a customer. So I am happy that I started at this point, but to get here, again, that how would come up. How am I going to do that? And what I did was I got into this space. It used to be a grocery store. It was a small, I don't want to say beat up grocery store, but it needed a little bit of work. And I literally had almost $2,000, $1,000 that I had saved up in my bank account. And I came over here and I decided, I came to spoke. Yes?
Why this story is important is because a lot of people don't know that the African people actually can do that.
Yeah, true.
So keep
very
going.
True. Yeah, very true. Because everyone else's perspective on starting a business, you've got to have tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Now I was talking about this yesterday, and it's usually the fear. It's not about the money; it's the fear. It's because you think that you have to have the money, and that once you have the money, that you would build that confidence enough to run a business, be in business.
Yeah, Gavin called me out on it that day when I was, telling him I don't have anything, but you have 35 kenchuas, 40, and your uncle has 100, and he was like, wow. This is how you're making money. This is how wealth is made. And I didn't know whatever he was talking about, but it was very scary. I was like, yeah, I think so.
Well, for us, it's survival.
Yeah.
We're just surviving, and we're
Yeah.
using what we have.
Yeah.
And at that time, when I decided I wanted to get into this space, like I said, I didn't have any money. I had a few $1,000s. A friend of mine had a few $1,000s, and my brother, who's in the audience, is the one who actually gave me the money to get this space. Yes. So it wasn't for him, and I was struggling. I remember this day because we were at his job, and it was in Chinatown, downtown, and I had this inspiration. I wanted to get this together. We have come down here and we spoke to the owner, and the owner said, hey, come up with this amount of money, and we'll make it work. And so when I spoke to my brother about it, my brother said, hey, all right, I have a little bit of money I can give you. And from there, it just was, magic. We put everything together, got into the space, and as a grocery store, we revamped it, and that's where I used a little bit of my just entrepreneurial skills, I think that I learned from school, and it worked out. And so when we decided to turn it into a coffee shop, and during that time I was researching, I was looking at other spaces to open up a coffee shop, and a couple of deals didn't work out. So we got in here, and a friend of mine who used to live upstairs, after my third year being in business here, she would push me and she would say, Solomon, you gotta keep talking about you want to do a coffee shop, do it. Why don't you just do it? And I was like, how am I going to do this? And again, that fear came in. I don't have the money. And she was like, dude, let's just do a crowdfund. Let's just start a Kickstarter, and you can, raise some funds and you get it going. And so that's when the light sparked in my brain, and we launched a campaign in 2014, which eventually went viral. A lot of folks really reacted to it. We were able to raise around $8,000 through that campaign. Our total, what we were looking for was about $14,000. But at that time, I had enough equipment and enough inventory that I liquidated everything, and I got in here and I decided I'm just going to do this. I think this is easy. I can tear this wall down and clean it up, and I can do the floors, and I can, And she assured me, she said, start with a B. It doesn't have to be an A. It doesn't necessarily need to be that top shelf, coffee shop or business that you expect it to be. And you can just start with what you have. And so I did that. And sure enough, we've been, I'm surprised. Like, just the amount of support that we get from the community, the amount of publicity that we've gotten. We've been ranked in Seattle's Met for being one of the best coffee shops in the city numerous times. It's not about the money. It's not about the money. It's all about what you can provide and what you can give. And what I've learned is that you're providing good customer service and a great experience that folks will walk away very, very happy, and you'll have a successful business.
Thank you very much. Now, I want to describe what Diaspora Connect really means. The reason why we're doing this, visual podcast is to demystify the lives of African immigrants here in the U.S., the lives of African Americans here in the U.S., how we're interacting with our allies, and also the lives of Africans back home. Most of us here are still very relatively new in the U.S. I've not been here for even 10 years yet. We interviewed a gentleman that had been here since 1988. And so, her uncle. And so, this is very important because a lot of the time I have friends in Africa, in Kenya, that, think that we live in a place where the streets are paved with gold and, the taps are flowing with milk, But that's not true, we struggle here. It's not easy. And stories of people like Solomon kind of paint the picture. Stories of the struggles we have in order for us to do events like this paint the picture. In that spirit, I want to open the floor for our audience to be able to ask me a question, ask Solomon a question. We'll only take 4 questions, and then we'll wind up the recording of Diaspora Connect today. Remember to subscribe to One Vibe TV on YouTube. It's super important that you do that. And while you're there, remember to be a patron. You can support the content we create here in Seattle and back home by becoming a patron. So you can even give $1, and that allows us to continue creating this type of content. And then this also is an audio piece that you can find on iTunes. So when you're driving to work, and you're tired of NPR and that type of stuff, you can tune into One Vibe Radio, on iTunes and listen to the audio version of this recording. So we'll take the first question. Yes, Njuguna.
Solomon, Cafe Avole's whole kind of business model centers around the uniqueness of Ethiopian coffee and how it's exceptional. Can you maybe speak to kind of the quality of Ethiopian coffee and why maybe the coffee your company offers is so great?
Yeah, so a lot of us know about the story of Khaled. I like to bring up the story of Khaled because a lot of folks, some folks don't really know about it. Khaled is the goat herder who discovered coffee in Ethiopia. And so one important thing that a lot of folks don't realize is that that coffee is indigenous to Ethiopia, that it was discovered thousands of years ago in a rural area in Oromo region where they produce some of the amazing coffee. I mean, coffee right now in Ethiopia is about above 90% coffee genetic profiles that come out of it. So you've got a wide range of coffee profiles that come out of Ethiopia. And it's just naturally, it's natural to the environment. So what that does is that produces some amazing coffee. For me, my connection with Ethiopian coffee and how I take it is I visualize the farmer that produces coffee in Ethiopia, and I want to make a way where I can build a more sustainable market, because of course Ethiopia has some of the best coffee in the world, but as a very conservative country that's still in its development, we haven't seen the value really reflect its true content. So what we strive to do with Avole Coffee is to create that connection and share the story that they have. Because again, there's thousands of years of history behind Ethiopian coffee that a lot of folks don't really know. And when we say why, like how is that story not really shared? How's the story of Khaled not really shared? Khaled discovered coffee, and once that happened, as a conservative country, everything became very common. Coffee isn't as it's seen in the Western world, where it's really scientifically examined in different ways. In Ethiopia, it's just everything from the jebena is a practical process that's happening. So one thing that a lot of folks don't know is Ethiopia produces over 6 billion tons of coffee, and half of it is consumed in Ethiopia. And so what they've been trying to do is preserve the culture and not rid the country of its resources. But a lot of the other challenges that are faced again are logistics, are technical advancements, technology. A farmer in Ethiopia can't get on a computer and do its own PR. So those are a lot of the challenges, and they can't really find accurate traceability. So these are the things that we want and we hope to do or to implement in Ethiopia.
I did have a question, but I'll let the audiences continue asking. We have 3 more opportunities for questions. Yes, David?
So as an uninitiated African American, could you explain what the significance of Avole is or means?
Oh yeah. So Avole. And some folks call it Avole. That's the gyro or the euro. It is. I intentionally came up with the name Avole. I almost wanted to sound foreign, we want to use that tongue, and so it's Avole, somewhat of French, right? So Avole in our country is so we drink out of a thing called the jebena, which is the clay pot that a lot of us have seen, and the jebena is and the coffee culture is something that is part of your everyday life. It's your tea time. So right after lunch or breakfast you'll have coffee, and then after coffee you'll have lunch, and then after lunch you'll have coffee again. Nice. So during these times when we're sitting around and we're having coffee and we're having jebena in the ceremony, what we're doing is we're embracing each other's presence. We're really in a social environment. So when we're drinking coffee, the first cup that's brewed, which would start off by freshly roast coffee beans that are finely grounded, put into the jebena, and you would seep it. You're allowed to seep there for about 10 minutes. The first round that's shared with everyone is called Avole. And the second round, which there's always a second round, you would add more water to the pot, let it seep again, and it'd be called, and you would share that again, and that would be called huletenga, which means second. Right after that, you do it again, and it'd be the third round, which is barakat, which means blessing. Now, for example, this happens a lot. We would be having a jebena ceremony, we'd hang out, have coffee, and someone would walk in and ask, let's say their greetings and say hi, and they'll say, hey, what round are we on? And we'll let them know we're in huletenga. So you would automatically know where we're at. But as hospitable as we are, we would initiate another round and say, let's rebrew this and share coffee again, spend more time with each other. And so the name of Avole was inspired by the Ethiopian coffee ceremony.
Can we, okay, go ahead. Next question.
I just had a quick one. This is just for both of you guys. I just wanted to know who you look up to, and if you have a favorite quote.
Who you look up to? Have a favorite quote?
Who do I look up to?
Yeah.
I look up to my mom. I was just talking about this yesterday, and the reason why I look up to my mom, and I always say this, is because, again, my mom was an immigrant, and she came to this country, she didn't speak a lick of English, barely had any education. She raised 2 boys here, and she had family still back in Ethiopia. And I would watch this lady struggle to support us, to support her family back home, and put us through school. Having boys are not easy, as I've learned. So, you know, I myself was very difficult. Hence why she's running up into the kitchen. She sees me doing these things. There's many stories around things that I've done. But one thing that I admire my mom on is, again, her support for her family back home, and her purchasing her first home here in Seattle, in Washington, in America, which was huge. Because, you know, my mom's a custodian. She worked janitorial all her life. And to see her, and I remember when she got inspired to purchase a home, she would argue with me, and I'd tell my mom, I'd say, "Mom, no, we can't do this. How are you going to do this?" And I was an interpreter for my mom all my life. So I would do all the interpreting, I'd do all the, we'd go to the grocery store, and, you know, she's like, I think they shorted me, so, you know, and I would have to look at her and say, "Mom, no, they," you know, a lot of things that we've dealt with. But one of the things that I saw when I watched her try and purchase this house with nothing, again, little money, she would just say, "Oh, there's a way. You know, there's a will, there's a way." My mom is the definition of that. And she did that here, and she did that in Ethiopia, and she continues to support her family. And I see her open-heartedness, and she's so selfless. She's just all about, you know, everybody else, and she sacrificed herself. And so now when I compare myself to my mom, or I attempt to compare myself to my mom, I'm nowhere near what her accomplishments in her life. And so she inspires me.
Thank you. I just want to thank Anthony Tappet. I want to thank Nikki. Your full name is really cool. Nikafla. I want to thank Kenju, Njuguna Wagishuru, Catherine, and our audiences and our supporters for continuing to support One Vibe Africa and Avole Night. I was asked if I had a quote that I like, right? But I want to say that you should subscribe to One Vibe TV on YouTube. You should follow Diaspora Connect. That's the name of this show. And if you know,
All together now.
I know, and I have a Nigerian quote. Okay, it goes like this: if you go know, you know. Now you know. If you know, you go know. If you go know, you go. See, it's so confusing. But then it's come. Just tell us this quote.
I believe the quote goes, if you don't know, you don't know. Now you know.
Okay, if you don't know.
If you don't know.
Yeah, but it's if you don't know.
If you don't know.
If you don't know, you don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Thank you all for coming tonight. That was perfect.